Hello, welcome to English 2, Unit 6, Part 1. Professor Neil, my TA, Young-hee. Hello.
Hello, this is TA Young-hee. Oh, who's that?
That's our ice skating penguin, enjoying his natural Arctic or Antarctic landscape.
Oh, ice pin.
Yes, and in today's unit, we're looking at natural environments. So the natural environments in which we live and in which we explore. So let's start with the starter.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I want to be on that balloon. Where's that?
Maybe the Isle of Skye in Scotland.
Isle of Skye in Scotland?
Yes.
Oh, looks very, very beautiful. I can see the castle.
Okay, yeah, could be a castle there. But there we are at the beach. And it's a natural landscape. It is a natural environment. And we are exploring in this unit natural environments, natural features. And we're looking at using the question words what and which together with comparatives and superlatives to mixing in with adjectives.
It's very interesting. What and which natural environment around the world. And then we use all the expressions we learned from the previous unit, including adjective.
Yes, in this unit we're looking at using adjectives in a form called comparatives and superlatives.
Okay, let me write down. Today we learn about comparatives and superlatives forms of adjective.
Yes. First, in the starter, we are dealing with nouns. But we're also going to mix them with questions and some superlatives and comparatives to give you some practice. Well, mainly listening to Young-hee answer the questions. So let's start with A. You can see on the map, A there is at the top, and it refers to icebergs.
Icebergs.
Yes. So let's look at the first one with a what question. So we might say, what is the biggest natural feature? Which are listed from 1 to 11, and our first one is iceberg. Notice how you can also use which. So which is the biggest iceberg?
So Professor Neil, we can ask in both ways using what or which.
Yes.
So what is the biggest something? In this case, which is the biggest iceberg? Also we can say what is the biggest iceberg?
Yes, I'm going to look at some of those examples. So Young-hee first, which is the biggest iceberg?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if you know. I had to look it up on Google.
Wow.
So apparently the B-15 was, and there's a reason why I say was, because it melted.
Ooh, because of climate changes?
No, a dragon. As you can see in the picture, there was a dragon.
Fired them to melt down.
Yes, naturally. So B-15 was the biggest iceberg, the biggest ever is the idea. Okay, so that's icebergs. Icebergs are floating ice that break off from the ice shelf and float into the ocean and then melt. And if you've ever heard of Titanic, the Titanic ship hit an iceberg and sunk in 1912 because it was racing across the Atlantic Ocean. So yes, lessons learned. Yes, so the next one, ocean. Answers our question. So Young-hee, which letter refers to ocean?
From the picture on the right?
Yes.
I would say K.
Very good, K. So K is, do you know what is the name of the ocean there?
That must be Indian Ocean.
Very good. So yes, there are different oceans. So here we're going to use which, but it's still asking for the same style of question and using. So which is the biggest ocean?
In my memory from my school education, the biggest ocean in the world is the Pacific.
Very nice.
Ooh!
Nice.
Fish!
Yes. Well,
One fish.
one fish. Okay, so yes. The Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean. Or as Yongi said, you could do it the other way around. The biggest ocean is the Pacific Ocean.
Ah, so the Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world.
Or you, as you said, you could have said the biggest ocean is the Pacific Ocean. It works both way rounds.
Because A equals B is the same thing, whether you
And
say
B equals A.
Yes.
Oh, logic. So there we have a picture of the ocean. Okay. And in the ocean, lots of fish.
I love ocean.
Alright, so next one, number 3, we have desert. Desert. Which letter refers to the desert?
H on top of the Gulf Peninsula, Middle East.
Yes, on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. I mean, you can see number 9 is peninsula, but H here is referring to peninsula as well. Oh, sorry, number H is referring to the desert.
Desert.
So there we go, H, desert. So, which is the biggest desert?
I know, I read it in the book recently. It must be Sahara Desert in the northern Africa.
Okay, a lot of information and a lot of details. Yes, the Sahara Desert in northern Africa is the biggest desert.
And Sahara means desert in their language.
So the desert is the biggest desert.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's quite interesting. Whose language?
Egyptian language is Arab. Language, Sahara.
Arabic.
Arabic language, Sahara means desert.
Oh, interesting fact of the day from Yonghi. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
I read this about 5 days ago.
Oh, excellent. So we have number 4, forest.
Forest. There must be D or C.
There are trees in D, but C. There are more trees in C. Though forests are pretty much everywhere, but in this picture, the main forest, the biggest forest, is up in C.
The more dense trees.
Oh, dense, good word. Yes, I could have said which is the densest forest. Right, but here we're like, what is the biggest natural feature, or which is the biggest forest?
Probably the Amazon forest in the South America.
Oh, that's one I hadn't considered, because I did the boreal forest is the biggest forest. That's basically across the whole of northern Russia.
Ooh.
Yeah, makes it quite big.
So, yeah, the boreal forest. I've never heard of it.
Well, there we go.
But I trust you, Professor Neil.
Yes, because I make these videos in advance, and therefore I check the answers in advance.
New information. Boreal forest is the biggest forest
in the world.
Amazon is tropical rainforest. It's different.
Yes.
The rainforest and forest is different.
Oh, yes. There are small differences. Next one, islands. Islands.
So it should be Z. That's Indonesia.
Looks like it's done in Indonesia, Malaysia, part of the world. And our question for Yonghee. What is the biggest island? Or which is the biggest island?
Probably the Antarctica? Or...
that's a continent.
Okay, then... It's a difficult question.
Think of the colour.
Greenland?
Ooh, Greenland is the biggest island. Why doesn't Antarctica count as an island? Good answer. Apparently it's a... Anyway, that's the answer that Google gave me. That's the one I've accepted for a long time.
Curious.
Is Korea an island?
Korea is a peninsula because we are attached to the part of a big continent.
And Korea has many islands, though.
We have Namhae
Which is
Island,
the biggest island?
Jeju-do Island.
And what's the second biggest?
I would say Jeju-do.
Oh, you're good at this. He's good at this.
I love geography.
Yes. All right, well, let's go with number 6. Rivers.
Let me see.
Rolling, rolling, rolling rivers.
I don't know but which sign refers. Is D referring that
Oh,
in
well
river streams?
Yes, let's just take your first answer there. D, which could be streams. All right, there are many words for rivers in English, but the main one we use is rivers. So, Yongi, you know what question is coming. Which is the longest river?
What is the longest river? I know this. River Nile.
Yes,
The Nile is the longest river.
Yes, the Nile River is the longest river. We tend to say the Nile River rather than the River Nile. But we'll come to that later. So yes, do you know how long it is? How many kilometers?
I remembered it about a day ago, but I forgot now.
Okay, we will give you that information shortly to refresh your memory. Mountains, one of my favorites.
I know what's coming.
So which letter?
Mountains are G.
Yes, and you know, that should have been G. Oh, just one moment. Did we? Oh, lake. Sorry, we missed that. Lake before mountains. Let's just go back and fix that.
Lake.
Oh yeah, lake. Yeah, sorry, lake. That was me.
Okay.
I was getting ahead of myself. Lake.
Lake is F.
Yes.
That lake, the F, I've been there.
Okay, what is the name of that lake?
There is Caspian.
Oh, very good. Caspian Sea is the biggest lake. Can you name the flag in the picture?
Azerbaijan.
Whoa.
I've been there.
Why were you in Azerbaijan?
In 2010, I attended the youth camp.
Oh, I thought you went there for the World Boxing Championship.
Yeah, Youth World Boxing Championship.
See, Yonghi likes boxing.
I love sport.
Yes, there we go. That's quite an interesting little side knowledge for you about Yonghi. She loves sport and she attended the Youth World Boxing Championships in Azerbaijan in 2012.
In Caspian Sea area.
In the Caspian Sea, yes. Wow. Okay, and number 8, mountains. Oh, well, that's G. We covered that.
That's G. I know the mountain too.
Oh, hang on. Oops. So not river, even though that would make an interesting question. But which is the highest mountain?
I know that. That is a G. Mount Everest.
Yes, Mount Everest. The mount bit is optional, but yes, Mount Everest is the highest mountain. Can you give us the meters?
It was about 19,000 or something.
About 888 meters. 8,888 meters.
Sorry, 19,000 is too high.
And 29,000 feet, roughly. Yeah. So
Professor Neil knows better than me.
So which is the highest mountain in South Korea?
In South Korea, the highest one is Mount Hallasan in Jeju Island.
Very nice.
Second highest.
Okay, and which is the highest on the mainland?
That should be Seoraksan.
Not Jiri-san?
Jiri-san should be second highest.
Oh,
I need to check.
But yes, on the peninsula. On the Korean peninsula, but in the picture it's not the Korean peninsula. So which one is peninsula?
Korea.
Korea is a peninsula, but which letter here refers to peninsula?
H also peninsula.
But H was...
And I is peninsula.
I is a peninsula.
It's India.
So peninsula is sea, land. Right, so an island is surrounded by sea, whereas a peninsula has sea on 3 sides. So yes, India is a peninsula. So what is the longest peninsula?
Longest should be Chile? No.
Chile's not a peninsula. India is apparently.
India is.
I could be wrong. Please feel free to fact check me.
Wow, there's the prehistoric bird is flying? Is it dragon?
Otherwise known as a dragon. Yes, which is following us around the world, visiting the many various places, making them the most dangerous places, probably. All right, the last one is plains. Plains is a very flat, grassy area.
That should be E.
E, yes. So, difficult question here. What are the widest plains? They're in Russia.
Siberian?
Answer.
Ooh.
The West Siberian plain is the widest plain.
Ooh.
So you can see they're very flat all the way to the mountains.
Professor Neil, I seem to know these things very well.
Yes, you're doing excellently, excellently. So hopefully our students are paying attention. And lastly, we have, we did plains. Glaciers.
Glaciers. Should be B.
B, yes. So what is the biggest glacier? I had to again look this up on Google. I don't carry this information in my brain.
I have no idea.
The Lambert Glacier is the biggest glacier in Antarctica.
Then there should be no... Antarctica?
Yeah, so penguins.
Penguins.
Makes sense. Yes.
Lambert Glacier is the biggest glacier in Antarctica, where my friend Pengsu come from.
Never mind. All right, so those are the natural features, and we've used some superlatives to describe them. And now we're going to leave our penguins to play in the sea, in the ocean. Bye-bye, penguin.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Oh, that was very, very interesting.
Informative and information about the biggest, the longest, the widest glaciers, because we have been using superlatives. Superlatives, which will bring us on shortly to the grammar. But first, we're going to deal with the dialogue. And our dialogue is, once again, going to talk about the best places for vacation, even though the one in our little video here does look a very nice place for a vacation. So dialogue, beach vacations are more relaxing. We have Adria and Casey, and they are talking about their vacation. So as usual, listen along. I am reading Casey. Younghee is reading Adria.
Work is driving me crazy. Let's take a vacation.
What kind of vacation do you have in mind?
How about hiking in the Alps?
Beach vacations are more relaxing.
Yes, but they are more boring. I want to go somewhere exciting.
Traveling in India is cheaper than traveling in Europe, and the food is tastier.
That sounds adventurous. What can we see there?
The Taj Mahal is one of the most beautiful sights in the world, and Delhi has the greatest markets in South Asia.
I'm in. Let's look for tickets.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
sounds very interesting.
When Adria says I'm in, that means I'll do it. Right?
I'm joining in.
I'm joining in, yes. I want to join in. So here in our grammar, we've been talking about adjectives, and we've been talking about comparatives. So notice there under meaning chunk it says adj, meaning adjective, plus er. So you've got like cheap is the adjective, you add er, and it becomes cheaper. Traveling in India is cheaper. And then it says than traveling in Europe. So it's comparing, a comparative. So all this grammar is about comparatives, or the one down the bottom you have like Delhi has the greatest, saying which is best, which is the most interesting or most beautiful, and so on. Those are the superlatives. So here you can see in our grammar it says comparatives and superlatives. So there are different ways of spelling them. So old is the adjective, and you add er because old it has one syllable. And for superlative it becomes oldest. As they start to have more syllables, like funny or narrow, some of them still have an er, where the y has changed to an I, Or if they've got two syllables like handsome, they start to have more put in front of them. And when they're comparing two things or more, you use the comparative. When you're saying one thing is greater or better than everything else, you use superlatives. And down the bottom, there are also irregular adjectives too. From good becomes better to best.
They are like irregular verbs.
Yes, and so it's things to remember.
Wait, Professor Neil. So regular comparatives and superlatives forms we have to memorize. So I have to write down. Good becomes better and best. Bad becomes worse and worst. Many or much becomes more or most. Little becomes less or least. Far becomes farther or further. Farthest or furthest. And finally, late becomes later or later, or latest or last.
Yes.
These are the things we need to take care of very specially.
Yes, a lot to memorize, a lot to work on, so let's start practicing with our grammar. And we're going to do that by asking some questions that try to make you focus a little bit on these comparatives. So, Yonghi, are you ready with our questions?
Yes,
Okay.
Professor Neil.
What is upsetting Adria?
Adria is upset because work drives her crazy.
Yes, Adria is upset because work is driving her crazy. Okay, very good. And our second question, what would Adria like to take?
She would like to take a vacation.
Very nice. Why doesn't Adria want a beach vacation?
Because she thinks beach vacations are boring.
Very good. Why does Adria want to go hiking in the Alps for vacation?
Because she thinks hiking in the Alps are more exciting.
Is more exciting. Okay, but good, excellent. Why does Casey suggest India?
Casey thinks traveling in India is cheaper than traveling in Europe where Alps is.
And the food is tastier.
And the food in India is tastier.
Than the food in Europe.
Yeah, more delicious.
Very good. What can they see in India?
They can see Taj Mahal and the greatest markets in South Asia in Delhi.
Very good, yes. They can see the Taj Mahal, one of the most beautiful sights in the world, and the greatest markets in Southeast Asia in Delhi. Excellent. Oh, do we have one? What will they do now?
They will look for tickets.
Yes, they are going to look for tickets to India.
Flying home to
Yes.
India.
That's excellent.
I envy them.
Yes, because they have decided that traveling in India is better than traveling in Europe because it is cheaper to travel in India than Europe.
And interesting,
and-
exciting,
and,
fun.
And the food is tastier.
And moving on.
Moving on. So let's see where we are. Grammar focus. So we have been over the grammar already. We have mentioned to you that there's comparatives and superlatives, and you have to pay attention to the spelling, and you have to pay attention to the number of syllables in the adjective. So the syllables are the number of sounds in a word. And that they're also, so for example, we're just going to run through some questions to practice this. So, Yonghi, which is the bigger ocean, Pacific or Atlantic?
I would say the Pacific is a bigger ocean than the Atlantic.
Oh, yes. The Pacific is bigger than the Atlantic. You can say the Pacific Ocean is bigger than the Atlantic Ocean. That is an option. As you can see in the picture, it says like Indian Ocean, North Pacific Ocean, South Pacific Ocean, and so on. Okay, very good, Yongi. So let's try another one. Which is the narrower ocean, the Pacific or the Atlantic?
By the look of it, the Atlantic is narrower than the Pacific.
Yes. You can give a short answer. The Atlantic is narrower.
The Atlantic is narrower.
Yeah.
I like a short answer.
Yeah, than the Pacific is optional. What is the longest river, the Nile or the Mississippi?
You mean longer river, but the professional...
Oh, let's pause that then. So, Yongi.
The professional gave me hint already. So, the Nile is longer than the Mississippi.
Very nice. Okay, yes, the Nile, there we go. Some information. The Nile is 6,650 kilometers, while the Mississippi is 3,730 kilometers. So yes, the Nile is longer than the Mississippi by about 3,000 kilometers.
About 2 times longer.
There we go. Which is the longer river, the Nile or Mississippi? You can give a short answer. The Nile is longer. Or if you want to add an information, the Nile is longer at 6,650 kilometers. Or by 3,000 kilometers.
Oh, complicated
Yes,
numbers.
but anyway, information always useful. And so let's look at some of the more ones quickly. Alright, what is the more beautiful river, the Nile or the Mississippi?
Oh, I can't tell.
Yes, so this one is just down to personal choice. Lovely place to go skateboarding, though.
We move.
Yes, the Nile is more beautiful than Mississippi. It's a personal choice. You could also say the Nile is more beautiful.
It depends on
Personal choice.
preference.
Yes. Which is the more beautiful river, the Nile or the Mississippi? The Nile is more beautiful than the Mississippi. What is the more beautiful river, the Nile or the Mississippi? Again, as Jung-hee said, personal choice. You can say, yeah, the Mississippi is more beautiful. And there goes our little skateboarder. So just to finish, before the break, we're just going to look at a couple of irregular ones. Good, better, best, or bad, worse. And we're going to put these into... So, Yongi, which is the better vacation, beach or mountains?
To me, beach is better vacation.
Very good. The beach is better than the mountains. Very nice. All right, give that one a little check, especially that beach that we have listed there. Looks beautiful. You could give the short answer. The beach is better. If you prefer a short answer. And then lastly, worst. Alright. What is the worst vacation, beach or mountains?
The mountains?
Yeah, the mountains are worse than the beach. But again, it's personal choice. It is personal choice. Right? It is personal choice. And you can just give the answer, the mountains are worse. But if you think differently, then you will be showing that in the comments section below. So there they are, comparatives and superlatives. Try to memorize and work with as many as possible. And we will be asking you some questions related to them shortly. So for now, we're going to leave self-practice for homework. So these ones, self-comparisons, you should do before part 2. In part 2, we will give you the answers. Alright, for now, go through these. They are on the next page. Do some checking. Write the sentences. And in part 2, Yonghee will give you the answers.
My pleasure.
To the self-practice sections. But for now, we are at the end of part 1.
Part 1 finished.
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you for part 2.
See you after break. Bye bye.
Bye bye.